25 September 2023, 1 o'clock, New Day, New Life, Rio de Janeiro City. We will move and we'll read something before we start a new activity that I hope do something related with my area, which is administration. Never considering the legal system, the judicial system, but since was kind of pushed and obliged, I had to do. I do not have skills to make a judicial decision, but I can fix an entire judicial system. The Operation Third Wind review by while data attached, which is basically the idea as embedded system. Law and order review by while data attached. Same thing as institutional crime, embedded as failure on institution, interacting and having things we prove. The antitrust justice and the International Criminal Court. We call the antitrust justice by the corruption as collinear field, and the International Criminal Court by the misuse of state and institutional power. The results will carry the attributes of the workflow, will be licit or not licit, it's binary. CGQM MOUTINHO acting by good faith as self-defense from a private living. Rio and Saquarema cities, RJ Brazil, considering how effort made and what became, and observing possibles, interests or the expectations, accepting and respecting the purpose at source, economic and financial control theory as anti-crime, and what became an industrial portfolio sourced from my self-defense at my private living, and suggested to consider review data of Heritage USA and Europe. The others do if considered necessary or relevant. Based on antitrust justice, punch cards especially related with COVID and September 11. Events, model embedded, the function heritage, the variable property, the attribute or index related with as a record or data that sets the vacancy or something like this. Property of many, generally vulnerable, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't imply that you are poor. Vulnerable is that you are in a situation of vulnerability. You can be a big star and be vulnerable. If you have dependence of heroin and put your entire property as an insurance with as benefit to your, pimp or something like this, or who supply your needs as drug dependence, can be the judge in the same way, or the CEO. Property of many, generally vulnerable, absorbed by single player and having normalization by fraud, core. Property records, heritage, institutional decisions, including the silence, which goes always as a variable. We could observe that the regular area, using procedures and power, whatever, corrupted, will unveil the criminal purpose sooner or later. The criminal inside a regular area will act at will inside the procedure, regular procedure, corrupted, will corrupt the area. In both cases, we observe that later we'll check the criminal purpose, or sooner we'll check the criminal need. It was the idea as observed. We could observe now something like this. The embedded system, things we are having, the philosophy and all things, we will check that the last thing we had, one of the last things considering this case, is the general attributes of the common business oriented language. Procedural, you can stop. It, imperative will be made, objected, oriented, and generic. And we have at the machine learning something considering now the pattern as program you do, which is the syntax. The syntax is the morphology as knowledge or design thinking to the machine understand what's going on and what is supposed to be made. If it's an automatic workflow, you have a decision, the machine. If we can codify values in global scale, and the machine can understand that the pandemic crime or criminal can be punished anywhere, the machine will do the decision, right? Program science, 100 years. Now we will check something like this. You, all this period, my dear criminal offender, decide to considering the public area and the corporative area, hit my environment even with no excuse to do. In general, having the codes of my things and all things I have, because you consider that can switch at least part of things I do to set a misperception about me, at least not considering, for instance, the ensure purpose as anti-crime. For instance, you try to put me as a drug dealer or whatever, and in the end you consider have, for instance, my death events and obtain my property or things, could be me or any other person. You switch the color, because you made an interference illegal with no excuse since my personality until the concrete aspects of my life, including the relations I have, that I must cut off. For instance, if I have a girlfriend, she will be mentoring, under a mentoring, to complain that I'm a criminal offender as a sexual offender, so I can't have a girlfriend. It's something like this. In the same way, we will observe that we have the property in global scale and the public system corrupted in global scale, also the corporations corrupted in global scale. Public system corrupted, corporations corrupted. They both combined formed a system of corruption, because the fail inside only goes if remains inside. If have the actions beyond, it implies that got comfortable and with tolerance from inside. You decided now to hit the property of people in global scale, using fake records about death events or events that are linked or looking as mass destruction, to change the color of things and also the values you could achieve. And you got a bit more things as fixed asset or something. And in the last thing as mobilization, considering the parallel ways as communication, service, piracy, institutional piracy, you choked now the opportunities of the people, especially during the breakdown, and then people could work at the COVID, having the dependence of government, and you have an extra bite of things here, but you a bit more aggressive. This frequency we are observing here now happen here and here on public and corporate. In the same way, the frequency happen on public and corporate. We will observe that the institutional crime has a relation here, public, corporate, with human resources and fixed asset in general, spreaded and integrated from this criminal system. We will observe that we have here these two things as human resource, which is the unique resource, economically talking, that can walk around and have a decision, especially about election and all other things, consume. They have a behavior exponential, especially inside the criminal system. But the criminal system run crimes and risks and take advantage of instability, and they are sourced at institutions, public, drivers, corporate drivers. But who is driven? The public drivers, the corporations as drivers, and also by this the entire criminal system. We will have the dismiss based on criminal association, and they will talk. In general, they are using fixed asset of the criminal activity, and we request to seizure or arrest 100% or majority as criminal activity. Now we are having the status quo ante, which is the criminal system, public and corporate, with ties by solidarity. We charge these two with the paycheck. The paycheck will affect all governments and states, especially at G20, and companies and corporations linked with, that hurt my guarantees and rights in an era which has no excuse to do this. Simple to get. While data taxa, embedded system philosophy. We will consider that the International Criminal Court, based on this model and all regressions and all other things offered, will do the punishment of the states and institution misused as a criminal driver, until have who is driven or who had been driven this, which is a chair or a council of peers. And the judicial system as antitrust will send those chairs as council of peers or specific heads to the jail or the consequence that is afforded. Any question? Oh, good, clear. Have a great week. Blue Monday, like the song.